Hello everyone, it's Lucille from My Curiosities and I hope you're all doing okay. I'm going to do an introduction for this video after the fact because I started filming my reading journal makeover without really having a plan in mind. I thought that I would include the clips in my A Week at My Desk videos. And I didn't show you a before, which is not very satisfying when you're watching a video, and I didn't show you a proper after either. So let's start. I decided to do a makeover of my journal because I fell into the whole of reading journal videos, and I love seeing the passion these people have to set up their journals, the decorations they have, hearing them talking about the latest reads, and it made me want to have such a pretty reading journal, except I already have a reading journal and I love it, and I didn't want to be starting a new notebook with a completely different setup, so I decided to transform my existing journal into something more pretty and decorated. So I'm going to show you my first volume of a reading journal to show you what it looked like before, and then I'm going to show you at the end of the video how it evolved. These are Leuchtturm 1917 notebooks. They're reading journals. I discovered them in 2013 and I fell in love with the simple design and everything. This is how I basically decorated my second volume. I don't know why, but I started gluing pretty stamps inside as a cover page, just writing that it was my first notebook, the date I started, the date I finished it, and then some quotes. Then I started writing my reviews, which were pretty simple. I just used a fountain pen and filled in the pages. I basically followed the prompts on the page with the title, the type of book, the name of the author, when and where I read it, when it was published, the original language in which it was written, the genre of the book, then my review. There's also a little space here to to grade the book out of 6, and I've never used it because I don't really like to give a rating to my books. I do it on Goodreads because it's there, but in my own journal I don't do it, and so I just write on these lines so that I have more space to write my reviews. In this journal you also have at the end little sections for books you want to read, books you want to give, books you have borrowed or lent out, and a blank section. And after that you have an index. In the first volume I did not use these sections as they were intended to, nor did I do it in the second volume. For example, in this one I wrote in the to read section, I wrote my favorite books from 2016. Here I wrote some more reviews when I had finished the review section because I wanted to use every page in this notebook. And here I started a challenge, I don't remember when, where I decided I wanted to read at least one book from each country in the world. So I wrote down all the countries I could find and even some more that weren't recognized by some authorities. So for example, I have Tibet, I have Palestine, and writing the name of one book in front of it. And here I filled in the index because it's very satisfying to have the books filling in. So that's basically what my second volume looked like before. And now I'm going to cue in the footage of me making over my journal, and in the middle of the video and at the end of the video I'll be back to show you what it looks like now. First of all, I want to apologize if you hear any weird noises in this voiceover, but apparently one of my neighbors has decided to use a circular saw and my computer is possessed by a demonic fan, so I hope you don't hear them. The first thing I wanted to do in this journal was to set up my cover page, and I just want to preface this narration by saying that I did not film these clips in order. When I do a project for myself and not for a video, or even for a video, I don't do things in order, I just jump from one task to the other, which is not very satisfying when you're watching a video, so I've reordered those clips like chronologically. So I'm going to be setting up the cover page first and then the other bits in the order of the journal. But if you see things that are not chronological, like a page being finished, before you actually see the setup clips, that's why. I hope this is not too confusing. At that point, I had seen a lot of reading journal videos, and I had seen people like Erin Smith setting up beautiful cover page, and particularly she had set up her 2024 reading journal with this like fairy tale theme, and I just loved the results. And I had just bought a boatload of stickers from an ephemera from Journal Say, and I wanted to use all of them. At first I thought I was maybe going to use some of my own stickers that you can see on the left that I sell on my Etsy shop, or that I would use some illustrations from books, but I ended up wanting to use some of the stickers you can see on the bottom left hand corner of the video under my arm. And I don't know what possessed me, because I never do like such heavily decorated pages except in junk journals, and maybe it was because I had seen a lot of reading journals and junk journal videos at that point, and because I was doing junk journal January, but I slapped everything I had on the page. So I decided to use some music sheets I had and some tea-dyed paper I had just done. I had never done tea-dyed paper before. I usually do coffee-dyed paper, but I had finished my coffee-dyed paper. And I of course decided to use some book pages because it's a reading journal. This is one of the masking tapes I had bought from Journal Say. It's a map design, but it's a bit too orange for my taste, so I will end up removing that bit of masking tape. I wish they had a lighter color map design, because a map design goes really well on a page and in a collage, but they don't. What goes really well on a collage is this masking tape. It's basically the white one I just had. It's basically like scribbling done with a fountain pen, and I don't know why, but it goes with everything I do. You can just put it on a page and instantly your page is decorated, just not in an obvious way or too much way. And I really love that masking tape. I wish I had bought like 3 rolls, because I think it's going to be finished really soon, and I liked how not opaque it is, so you can see some of the bits under it. I was then deciding which stickers to use on the page, and I really wanted to use this book sticker and these key stickers. Some of them had wings, and I also really wanted to use these lovely window stickers, these stained glass stickers. They shimmer but not in a too obvious way, and I wanted to use all the stickers on the page because I was really excited. I ended up settling on using only the book sticker on the right, and what I like is that you have a magic wand over the book and some floral too, so that works really well. And what I like with this Journal Say masking tape is that it's not too strong, so it's easy to just lift it and reposition it elsewhere. It doesn't tear the page that's under it usually. I haven't had it happening to me anyway. And I like that you can reposition it, and if you've done your design and you have a bit of masking tape left, you can just put it somewhere and reuse it. And here I'm using my new favorite masking tape. It's a craft masking tape with a grid design on it, and for some reason every time I put this grid design on a page, I think everything turns out so beautiful, and I've used a lot of this craft masking tape. Little warning, if you buy stickers on Journalsay and other drop shipping websites like that, you pay for the quality you get. So basically it's cheap, so the stickers are not the best. And to remove the backing paper of these stickers is sometimes super hard. It was so hard that for some of the stickers I thought I had received defective product and that they were not stickers. But in fact, when you use a craft knife, you can separate easily the backing from the sticker, because otherwise, just with your nails, it's super hard. Sometimes I've spent like 5 minutes trying to remove the backing before I saw a video where she used a craft knife to remove the backing, and it was much easier this way. And when I started to do this second like cover page or just pretty page, I changed direction. I paced myself a little more because I was confused about the result of that first cover page, and I decided to go in another direction. I decided to use that. It's a clipping from a magazine. It's a painting by Dante Gabriel Rossetti, which is a 19th century painting, member and founder of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. And I'm not a fan of Dante Gabriel Rossetti. I don't like the faces of his women, but I love the Pre-Raphaelites. But one of the paintings of Rossetti that I like is this painting. I've seen it in person when there was a Pre-Raphaelite Oscar Wilde exhibition in 2012, I think, in Paris. And I went several times to this exhibition because it was the first time I could see paintings by British artists from this period. It was amazing. But anyway, I saw this painting, and seeing it in person, I got to love it a lot, and I wanted to use it in my journal. And because the painting is really ornate, I didn't see myself using a lot of other things on the page. I obviously wanted to use my craft grid masking tape, and I thought I would use the map masking tape, but the orange tones didn't go with this painting. and I didn't know how to add decoration without being too much. When I thought about these black craft photo corners that I usually use in my picture albums, and I thought that using them in my journal would give a nice definition to the picture without being too much. I also wanted to use some floral stickers to recall the florals that you have in the background of this painting. And this sticker book was gifted to me by a friend a few years back. And they're basically like 17th century, 18th century, 19th century floral paintings. And they go very well with the theme of the notebook and with a Victorian theme, and they went perfectly with this painting. I would have used more stickers if I had found flowers in the same style as this one, because the soft colors, the soft yellow, went really well with the craft paper and with the tones of the painting. And I thought I was going to use more stickers on this double page because I put basically nothing on the left page, but when I was finished, I was just so happy with the page, and maybe it was in response to the first cover page I had done, and there were so many things on it that I decided to just leave it as it was. So you've seen me just setting up my cover page, and when I was finished, I was very ambivalent. This was a lot for me. I much prefer a simpler aesthetic in general. Loved the new stickers I had bought from Journal Say, and I wanted to use all of them at the same time on the same page apparently. But even if I liked the aesthetic, and I would have liked it if I had seen a picture of it, I didn't like it in my journal. So I decided to completely change everything, but I did not waste everything because I reused the things I was able to lift from the page. So this is what the cover page looks like now. I've kept this little vignette here because I love this sticker. I love using the labels here. What I've done is that I've covered everything with this coffee dyed paper. I've used some masking tape here because having two bits of paper glued here made that it would lift when I would close and open the book. I put a bit of a music sheet here because I had to hide something, and a little floral sticker. You can see the bits here where I have lifted bits of papers that were glued in, but I don't mind it. It goes with the junk journal aesthetic. I kept this because it's basically my aesthetic. I love the colors. I thought I was going to write something here, but I couldn't decide on what. I started doing it and then I didn't like it, so I put another bit of tape on it. And now I'm going to show you what are the next things I've done in the journal. So this is another day, and this is me jumping to the end of my reading journal where I had started what I called my books on shelves section, which is very literal of me. And I had done a similar things a few years back. I had just used a notebook page and a black liner, and I had drawn all the books I read that year as I was reading them, and I liked the results, but this time I wanted to use a bit more color. And often in reading journal videos, they set up these kind of pages as like, I want to read 50 books that year, so I'm going to draw 50 book shapes, and then I'm going to fill in the titles and some colors as I'm reading them. But I don't want to give myself such an objective because I'm not going to read 50 books. I use the Goodreads challenge and I say I'm going to read 20 books each year, but it's just like because I like the feature in Goodreads and I like to see all the books I read in a year in a convenient place, rather than me wanting to read such a certain number of books. So I decided to set up this books on shelves page for the books I had read in 2023. And if I'm not mistaken, I started drawing that page like on the 1st of January or something. So the year was finished. So I had all my 2023 books, and I knew I wasn't going to fill in the full bookshelf with my 2023 books because I read 17 novels in 2023, as well as several mangas and graphic novels. So not enough for all the shelves, and I didn't want to draw big books to just take space. I just thought that I would add my 2024 reads to the shelf and it would be perfectly fine. I wanted to dress up this page a little bit and add a little tab over the tabs of the journal. As I've shown you in the beginning of the video, these last sections of the journal are already set up, and this is the to read section, but I didn't want to use it that way, and I didn't want to just erase it with some whiteout, so I used some craft paper, and I really like how it turns out. It gives a simple decoration, and because I had used colored pencils to fill in the books, I knew they would transfer to the other side of the page, so I didn't want to have something else on the other side of the page that would have colored pencils transferred to it. So I went to my magazine clippings storage and I found this bit of painting by Millet, which is Ophelia, and I thought I would just simply cut out a bit of the painting and glue it on the left page. And as I had enjoyed using these little photo corners in my cover page, I decided to use a different color of them on this side because it would give a little something else to the page, a little decoration to it without being too much. And I enjoy just looking at the painting when I'm using the page, and it reminded me when I was in high school and I would print paintings and I would put them under the cover, the plastic covers of my notebooks for school, and I would look at lovely 19th century paintings when I was in class instead of listening to the teacher. I thought I would decorate a little bit more this page and add a header using the same kind of ephemera I had used in the rest of the notebook. The floral stickers that I use are from the books I've showed you before, or there are some washi stickers, some plant washi stickers that a friend sent me like years and years ago, and I had never used them until now because they're very much like 19th century naturalist paint style, and they go very well with the overall theme of the notebook. So I end up using them in this journal. And what I did with the music sheet bit was that I glued it over the shelf, and then I redrew the contour of the shelf and of the first few books, and I really liked how organic it looked. So I decided to do it in my journal, and I hope to continue using that technique in other pages. I really like sticking things on the side of pages and then cutting out what's left so it looks more organic. And don't worry, I reuse what I cut out on little collages, so nothing is wasted. I had started by my 2023 Books on Shelves page, and then when it was finished, I decided I liked it, so I'm going to go to the page before and do it for 2021 and 2022, because in this journal I have reviews from these 2 years, but I wanted to use a different color palette than the one from the previous page, and I very much prefer that kind of softer color palette. I was using my colored pencils a lot less. I wasn't pushing on them so much. jumping to a different section of the video now. I'm doing the first review of 2024, which was a French book called Wiggins et la nuit de l'éclipse, which is Wiggins and the Night of the Eclipse. It's a middle grade book by Béatrice Nicodème. She's a crime novel author. She has written quite a few books about Sherlock Holmes and Wiggins, which is a character of the original Sherlock Holmes books, but a very secondary character. He's the leader of the Baker Street Irregulars. She had written a whole series about Wiggins, but in much shorter forms, and I had loved them a few years back. If you can't tell with my excitement talking about Sherlock Holmes, I love Sherlock Holmes. I have read all that Conan Doyle has written, and I have read a lot of novels by other authors talking about Sherlock Holmes. And just before, at the end of 2023, on Christmas, I had read another novel by Béatrice Nicodème about Sherlock Holmes, and I had this other one on my shelves, and I really liked that novel. It was longer than the ones I was used to with this character. It was so cozy because everything was basically set up in the same place for the whole novel, which was a private school. And it was such a nice read to start the year. I wish she would have written much more novels with the same characters in the same style, but she hasn't, so yeah, that was disappointing. But this first review was basically the first page I was doing where I was trying to decorate the page. And because I don't have like a lot of thematic stickers, I wanted to use things that would remind me of the subject of the book, but I didn't have that many stickers that would work. So I decided to use these washi stickers also from Journal Say, and these are the stickers I was most excited about when I bought them because they're paintings from Impressionist painters. So you have Van Gogh, you have Monet. I don't remember which other painters you have, but you have a lot of Monet. And I knew that Monet had painted a number of views of London. So that's the sticker on the right, under the cover of the book on the right, that I used. And then I used other stickers, but I think it's too busy, and because the other stickers don't have anything to do with the subject of the book, I'm confused by it and I don't know why I've put them on the page. But I like what I did with the quote from the book on the left of the page, using this bit of craft bag from the bakery. I wish I had put more of this paper because I had to cut the quote. What I really like when I'm working in my writing journal is using my fountain pen and I'm just really writing the review for myself. So I write in French, I write in English, and a mix of the two. And I'm not trying to make clever points or trying to be objective, because I don't think you can be objective when you're talking about books anyway. I'm just writing for myself, I'm just saying what I have on my mind. And I love using the fountain pen because I don't really use it anywhere else. And here is a very simple, very cheap fountain pen from the discount store. It's from the German brand Pelikan. And buying this very cheap fountain pen has made me fall in love with writing with fountain pens all over again. Next, I wanted to do a cover page for 2024, and I had never done any cover pages for my reading, like for the different years in my reading journal. I would basically just have reviews after reviews and just write at some point in a liner, in a colored liner, the year that had changed, but that was basically it. And started the dilemma of what to do. Did I want to do some boring beige pages like I had done before, or did I want to go bold? And I loved that clipping from a painter I don't remember, so I wanted to use it. But I wanted to tie in the left page with the right page, so I used more of this washi tape to make it as if I had used the same bit of washi tape on the left and on the right, so the two pages were linked. And I used the same craft photo corners to decorate the page and my label maker. And I like the result in theory, but in practice, the color were too bold for my taste, and my boring self came back, and I was like, no, I can't have that page. I have to change it. And because it was just some clipping from a magazine, I didn't feel guilty just changing it up, as you will see me doing. So you see me removing the page, and I had glued it very, very well this time, so it was hard to remove it, so I had to cover it with some bits of papers. So this is a bit of an envelope on the right, and on the left I have a bit of a painting, but I will change that, I will show you. I decided to use this lovely Morning Glory sticker on the right, and some like pale purple flower at the top that I will end up moving because I thought that it was too much flower on the same side. And I'm back to show you what my cover page turned out like. So I've kept this bit, but I covered the green bit with this coffee dyed paper, no, that's tea dyed. I've added this lovely wasp or bee stick, I'm not sure, I think it's a wasp. And this little label, and I love this washi tape. So I really like how this turned out because it looks a lot like other things I've done in my journal. For example, it looks a lot like what I did for my kind of cover page for 2023. I didn't want to do too much when I started doing this. This was one of the first time I started to try to decorate my journal, and I didn't have a page here to show that it was 2023. So I used a bit of vellum, a bit of I think I got this paper bag from bakery, and some stickers, and I really like the simple aesthetic, the flowers, the soft colors. So I tried to replicate it here. And now for the rest of the makeover, and I'll be back finally at the end of the video to show you everything I've done. So my problem here was that I did a cover page for my index, and I love how the cover page turned out. You will see it at the end of the video. But as a little dummy, I did not put the cover page just before the index. I put it a few pages before the index because I was doing this cover page like quite late at night, and I had to find what to write on those pages. So I decided that I would have pages where I would glue the covers of the books I had reviewed in that journal. So not all the books I read that year, but just the books I had reviewed. One of the last things I'm going to do in this video is to set up my statistics for 2022. I have already set up 2023 and 2021. And the last spread I'm going to do in this statistics section is my Reading the World, Lire le Monde section, which is a challenge I've started for myself a few years back, as I said in the introduction. And I thought that doing a map would be much more satisfying and representative of what I was doing than just having a list of the books and a list of the countries. Also, I'm not awesome at geography, so having a map and having to find the country and color it in was a very good idea for me to learn more geography. And because I didn't want to just print a map on a white paper that would clash with the rest of the journal, I printed it on tea-stained paper. And I was afraid that it wouldn't work well because when you tea stain or coffee stain paper, it becomes crinkly. And I thought my printer was going to have a fit. But it went fine. But don't take my advice on it. I don't want to be responsible for a printer meltdown. It worked for me, but don't try it at home without adult supervision. I decided not to write the name of the countries because it would work on big countries like Canada or Australia or China. But on the small countries on this map, I wouldn't have enough space and it would become very messy, so I decided just to color in the countries. I was just counting in my first reading journals how many countries I have read a book from, which is 43. Alright, I'm back for the last time and let's have a flip through the journal. So we start with my cover page that I've talked about enough. We go through there. And at the beginning you have my normal reviews that I did before the makeover. So just some fountain pen and some different colors for quote. This was the first page. I started trying to decorate my pages, thinking that maybe I could put a cover, but I didn't like how it turned out. And I thought I would not try to decorate my journal much more. But then I was writing this review and I thought maybe what I didn't like was that the cover took space on the page, so I thought that I would glue just the top bit of this cover and just have to lift it to read the review, but I don't like this either. So my next idea was to decorate a bit more around the cover and put it in a more centered place on the page rather than just here. And I really like how this turned out, how simple it is. I used bits of my stickers I had cut out when I was using the sticker in some other place. I used some brown paper here to write my quote. And I used the same brown paper I used here, and I'm keeping that paper bag to use in the journal so that it's more consistent. As time went on, I felt more confident and I liked how this turned out, so I decorated a bit more, but still using the same bits of ephemera. Here I put my quote, So we come to 2024. Because I started the year with reading a little more than what I usually do, I wanted to mark that it was my January reviews, but I didn't want to do a full cover page because I don't want to waste any more pages. Next, I had read some mangas, so I read 2 volumes of the manga Arte. So I have 2 books here. I tried to decorate it with something that was linked to the theme of the manga. So Arte is a manga about a 16th or 15th century, I don't remember, a 16th century female painter. So I wanted something to do with art. So I glued this washi sticker from Monet, and I wanted the red to remind me of the red of the cover. Also used bits of stickers and washi tape that I had used before. For this volume of Bright Stories, I didn't have really anything that recalled 19th century nomad life, so I just used things I had already used in the journal. But if I was to redo it now, I would maybe print a bit of a map or a bit of a pattern that's from this region. Next review, I was much more deliberate in it because what I really like when I watch journal videos is when the decoration on the page is linked to the subject of the book or the cover of the book. And I started for this graphic novel about Goscinny, the author of Asterix, for example. I started using these washi stickers and I thought they linked quite well with the design of the graphic novel, the cover. This was a sticker, it's also a painting by Monet because the colors recalled these. For this volume of the Amelia Peabody's Adventures, The Last Camel Died at Noon, I decided to go all in with the Egyptian historical design. I didn't have any Egyptian stickers and I wasn't going to buy them just for a page. So I went on Canva, I looked at little images they had and I glued some of them in. I had to fussy cut them, but it was okay. I also glued in a map about the Kushite people because that's where the novel takes place. And I thought that this masking tape with the sun and the moon and astronomy went very well with a novel that deals with Egyptian history because they were really good at astronomy. So I thought it went well and the colors tied in well with this cover. The next thing I did in the book, and I didn't show you, was setting up a cover page for the annexes. I really loved when people were doing these fussy cut pages in their journals, and when I did it, I liked the result, but I still wanted something to separate the reviews from the other pages, so I added this bit of glassine envelopes I had kept for journaling. I really like this design, and I had done this page before I did the cover page for 2024, and that's when I was doing this page I realized I wanted something very simple like this. And at first I was hesitant because I thought it was boring to just reiterate what I had done here with tea-dyed paper, lovely floral stickers, label and this masking tape, but I really liked it, so I thought it's fine if I don't do something unique for every page. I had already written down these pages before I started my makeover, and I wasn't going to remove them, so I just added little bits here to decorate a bit more. I wrote, so this is my TBR, the books I've bought and I want to read, the physical books. So I just wrote how many books there are, so that's 28. Here is my TBR for my e-reader and what I added to these pages, and I showed for one of those pages in my video, are little tabs over it, and I really liked how simple it is and the result. I also used just odds and ends of craft tape paper and washi tape I had used. So PAL, P-A-L in French, is TBR basically. Here are my books on shelves section. You can see that the colors are quite different and I think I much prefer this one, this kind of colors, but I'll continue with this theme to finish. Here we come to my statistics section, and I reused this bit of stickers and ephemera I had used on my cover page, if you remember, because I really like how it turned out. Sadly, when I was doing it, I thought I had to do more and more, so I added more bits of ephemera and more bits of washi tape. I would have preferred it if I had toned it down a bit more, but I'll know for next time. You've seen me setting up one of those pages. I decided to set up wrap-up pages for all the years this journal contains, so we have 2021, 2022 and 2023. If I was to do it again, I would take 2 pages for these, because even if I don't have a lot of information, I would like the page to be more aerated, to have more space between the different sections. I just used the last pages of this section for my Lire le Monde, Reading the World section. The last section of the book, which is the index, I wanted to do a cover page for this index section. Really like the result. I used the same design that I did just here with different colors and flowers. I would not have done these pages if I hadn't made this mistake, but it's fine. I like to see a physical representation of the books I've read here, and that was a good excuse to use a little bit more floral stickers. I hope you like this video, even if I'm a very boring girl and I don't like to keep bold pages. I like very simple things, but I hope this was still entertaining and that you enjoyed it as much as I'm enjoying watching a lot of reading journals setup video. And that's it. Thank you for watching the video. Tell me in the comments if you keep a reading journal, if you'd like to keep one. I hope I showed you that you can still have a pretty reading journal, that you can adapt an existing journal to something, and that basically there are no rules. Just have fun, and even if your journal doesn't look like the ones you see in video, you can have a lot of fun with your reading journal. I forgot to tell you, but some of you might know already because I put online several shorts about it. I've opened my Etsy shop, and this is one of the products I'm selling on my Etsy shop. This is a sticker made out of a colored pencil drawing of a magnolia warbler that I did. I opened it last week, and it will be in my descriptions from now on, and there is a link in my profile. And I hope you want to discover that shop. If you don't like what I draw or what I paint, it's perfectly fine. But if you still want to support me despite not wanting to buy or not being able to buy, just liking my videos and liking my shop on Etsy or sharing it with people you think would enjoy it would help me a lot and would support me a lot also. So, okay, I've spoken a lot today. I hope you liked the video. I think I've said that. Okay, now I'm going to go. Bye!